Welcome to the podcast, A Drink with Derek. Follow comedian Derek Richards on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch all episodes of the podcast. Now grab a drink and join your host, Derek Richards.
What's a Drink with Derek? Derek Richards here in Las Vegas. Thank you so much for tuning in here. Huge thanks to my friends over at New Takes TV, Drew, Ben, Rob, and Sean doing a fantastic job putting this thing together. Can't thank you guys enough. Everything looks absolutely spectacular. Also, big thanks to my sponsor, VegasSportsAdvantage.com. If you're going to bet sports, you need to go ahead and use your head when you're gambling. We all know you have a favorite team. You can't just bet the team that you like if you want to win some money. These guys make their clients money. I made some money off of the NBA game. What was it? The Portland Trailblazers game the other night. These guys know what they're doing. VegasSportsAdvantage.com. They go to their website. The record's right on there. You can see exactly what they win, what they lose. They're insanely transparent. They are absolutely crushing it in college football right now. They are the number one sports handicapper in college football right now. VegasSportsAdvantage.com. Also, if you get a chance, check out my album Double Down. You can snag that wherever you go ahead and download all your happy stuff, you filthy animals. Double Down is available on iTunes, Spotify, as well as Amazon. And also excited to plug for the special that I'm in with the Irish Comedy Tour, which is available on Amazon Prime. Myself, Mike McCarthy, Derek Keene, Damon Liebert. Go on Amazon Prime, all the platforms you can see on the bottom. You can get it on Dish, DirecTV, Vudu, iTunes. But if you have Amazon Prime, it is absolutely free. The Irish Comedy Tour. All right, my guest today. Super excited to have this guy on. He's a good friend of mine. He is based here in Las Vegas. He's an accomplished screenwriter, award-winning songwriter, and comedic actor. Probably best known for his caustic observations and musical satires of his live comedy performances. Early in his career, check this out, Rodney Dangerfield made him his protege, and together they toured the United States and Canada for over 3 years. I love that picture. Dennis also conceived and co-wrote Rodney's hit movie Easy Money, and also played a couple of cameo roles. He had hooked up with Joan Rivers and Tom Jones for extended tours until a 3-month engagement opening for George Carlin turned into a 20-year tour as George's exclusive opening act. You've seen Dennis on the Tonight Show several times. He's got a couple CDs. He's got a one-man play that he put together. But let's check him out right now. Dennis Blair, comedian, here on A Drink with Derek.
There is a disease terrible that strikes 10 out of 1 Americans 15 every minute. Vocal dyslexia, it's called. An ailment I've been lifing all my fight. It can warn without striking and has no regard for case, reed, or cruller. The symptoms? Speechled garb. Bats coming out wordwards. And an inability to scent a complete puttins together. The victims? Innocent people like moo and pee. Sadly, vocal dyslexia is wilding like spread fire. And there is no curable simp. But there is hope. The Dyslexia Foundation recommends these things 3. Third, at the first trub of Sinal, physician consultant. Second, stay in bed and drink fluty of plentids. And first, read as can as you much. With help yours, stamp out disease we can this terrible. For more information, write 555 Teen 5th Street, Grand Message Rappagan. Thank you, much Iver.
That was Dennis Blair, ladies and gentlemen. Very funny job. Thank you very much, Dennis.
Free beer for everyone! Ozzy Osbourne, come on! Ozzy Osbourne, who once said, and I quote, I want to see Ozzy Osbourne talking to Bob Dylan. Wouldn't you? I would kill for that. Mick Jagger, I swear, looks like a demented flamenco dancer when he performs now. The Bee Gees? Come on, the Bee Gees!
Nobody today can tell what I'm singing, cause I'm singing too high, singing too high. My career is over, but I can't get a woman cause I'm singing too high, singing too high. Singing too high.
Hey, I have an idea. Yell at your favorite singer and I'll destroy them for you. Tom Petty and Elvis. If Elvis was alive today, he'd be doing commercials now. You know that, right? Yeah. Elvis would have done Taco Bell. Well, since my baby left me, I'm going to Taco Bell. I have a big burrito and I don't feel so well. It's all shit on to Burger King. Oh yeah. Elvis! Eagles? It's the Eagles. I see you're trying hard to get into those blue jeans. The problem is you weigh 500 pounds. You can't hide those giant thighs. That's enough of this garbage. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice. Always good to see you. Always good to see. Yeah, your video stuff. I had not seen the vocal dyslexia thing before. And by the way, we just got contacted by the Dyslexia Foundation of America, and they've canceled you. So I hope you're happy.
Right. People at Netflix just walked out on me, which is weird, because Chappelle's having enough troubles. And I'm not even on Netflix. So
All of a sudden, Dennis Blair's name crossed the radar at Netflix.
Yeah.
All the dyslexic people that work at Netflix.
Podcast. Yeah. Right, exactly. They're pissed. Everyone's pissed at me now. The people who
Everyone's
like the people
pissed
who like
at
the
everybody.
Bee Gees. I know.
Done.
I'm pissed at you, to tell you the truth, for running that.
Large women trying to cram into jeans. They're pissed at you now. Hope you're happy. Dennis Blair. Dennis Blair.
How you doing,
you,
Derek?
my friend?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Same
I
here.
got to tell you this. I don't know if you had, if you've Googled your name, but the first name that pops up for a Dennis Blair says Dennis Blair, former United States Director of National Intelligence, and is a retired United States Navy Admiral.
Yeah, that's right.
That's you? Oh, okay, cool. I'm glad you decided to throw that career away. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Well,
it was too stable. It was too stable. So, who needs that crap?
Who wants-
No, I'm a different
who
guy.
wants Who wants government benefits and a
we don't want
six-figure
any of that.
salary? No, who needs that
Exactly.
aggravation? Good to see you, my
I
friend.
agree.
How you been?
Always. I've been okay. I've been, I've been living, which is weird. I thought by now it would be over, but, now
You took the
I'm
under
still
on
here,
yourself?
so- I did.
You went to the sports book and took the under on yourself?
I did. I lost money on my own death. I was
Welcome
to Las
betting
Vegas.
against
Me. Thank you.
You are. I've had the pleasure working with you before. I've seen
Yes.
your stand up multiple times. I've seen your actual. You're just singing uh, on
Yeah.
multiple occasions too. Over at Bootlegger, and you do.
Uh-huh.
We're doing shows over at the Tuscany as well. This is before the world ended.
That's right.
Now,
That's
are you
right.
back? Are
And,
you back? Are you back working at the? What's your gigs now that you're normally doing besides comedy?
nothing's changed at all. My life
Nothing.
is a big static mess. No, I still work over at the Tuscany on Fridays with the Kenny Davidson Band, unless I have another gig, which happens every once in a while. And then, I've been doing a lot of, the Comedy Cellar here in town, and we just got back from Reno, we're our old stomping grounds. So, and now I'm looking forward to and I have two shows that I'm producing coming up in next month. So I'm a busy beaver. You know what I'm saying?
You got stuff going on, my friend. You were a musician before you got into doing comedy.
Correct. I was.
What was your?
I still
what
am.
was the? Why? How did you transfer? How did you transfer from working in bands to doing stand up?
Well, here's the big story that I tell. I was working in bars as the bar guy, singing songs, James Taylor songs and Paul Simon songs. This was in Long Island, and as you know, no one listens to you in a bar. They're all talking, and I got very offended by that because I was on stage and I was pouring my heart out, and these people were just talking. So during the intermission, I went up and I said, I'm going to get their attention. And I wrote this parody of the then popular Bee Gees song, Staying Alive. And my parody was Singing Too High. And I came back down to that stage and I sang 2 or 3 regular songs. And then I threw in the parody and people started listening. And they said things like, hey, those aren't the real words, real smart stuff like that. And then they started laughing. And I said, hey, that I might have something here. And then I came up with more parodies. And then I started doing requests and tried to come up with parodies on the spot. And from there, I developed a little comedy act, totally accidentally. Went to Dangerfields the following week, auditioned, and it went really well. And then they hired me for the next week to open for Jackie Mason. And that's how the whole stupid thing
From one audition at Dangerfields.
Yes.
You ended up getting selected to open for Jackie Mason.
Correct.
Wow.
It was one of those late night things. They didn't have me on till like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know, people were tired and I guess they saw too many singers in a row or something like that. And I came on with my stupid little thing that I was doing. And and they said, hey, you're really funny. You want to open for Jackie next week? And then as I'm opening for Jackie, one of the shows, Rodney Dangerfield comes wandering in. And he comes in at the end of my show, sees people laughing, and he goes, they obviously like what you do. What do you do? And I told him what I did, and he stayed and watched the next show, and then he started liking me, so I started opening for him. The whole thing is a complete accident, and I apologize to everyone for it.
Do you have any idea how envious people are of you having that immediate level of success and getting the attention of a legend? I mean, arguably, and we'll get to your experience with George Carlin, but you spent time working with Rodney and George Carlin. You could easily put those two guys on the Mount Rushmore of comedy.
Correct. Yes. Yes, I am aware of how envious people are, and I am envious of me, which goes to my schizophrenic nature. I hate myself. So I look at myself and I go, that bastard doesn't deserve what happened to him. And I'm right. Yeah, it's crazy. Just, you couldn't write that stuff. It's like, what I'm in a bar, I'm singing in a bar. And like 3 months later, I'm like touring with Rodney Dangerfield for 3,000 people at a shot. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Did you even think at the time when Rodney asked you to go on the road exactly the magnitude of that? Or were you how old were you at the time?
Let's see, 24 or something like that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because he had just done Caddyshack. So when I started working with him at his club, it was like, maybe 60 people a night or something like that. It wasn't always full. Weekends it was full. Then Caddyshack hit and he became the biggest star in comedy. My timing was perfect as opposed to my act. But he became a huge star. And all of a sudden he couldn't play his own club anymore, so he starts doing 3,000 seat theaters and takes me with him. I totally went, oh, I can't believe this is happening to me. So yeah, I certainly was aware of all of that stuff.
What was it like working with Rodney? Because I know he had some quirkiness. You and I had talked about this before when we were working together, and you had shared so many great, funny stories about Rodney. The one that I want you to tell, though, for sure, is the hot tub story.
Well, this is how I got fired. I've been fired by some of the biggest stars in the world. So I'm with Rodney for like a little over 3 years by this point. We were touring. And Rodney lived in Westport, Connecticut. I lived in Port Jefferson, which was a ferry ride across the river there, whatever that body of water thing is. And he would always call me and say, hey, come on over, we'll do some writing. And you couldn't say no to Rodney. That was one of his quirkinesses. Like, I'd say, well, Rodney, I have a party at my house in 10 minutes and, oh, come on over anyway. And you had to drop everything and go over. All right, fine. So we went over. At one point, I said to him, Rodney, can we bring our dog? Because our dog at the time, Daisy, was like our child, And he says, yeah, just don't make sure she doesn't go swimming in my pool. And I'm thinking, okay, I wasn't intending on bringing my dog in his pool, but what does that matter? Anyway, we bring the dog over. So we're doing some writing. Rodney decides to go take a nap. I'm with my then girlfriend, now wife, Peggy. He says, don't bring the dog in the pool. He goes to take a nap. We go into the pool for a while. We go into his little hot tub. And the dog climbs up on the hot tub, goes to lick our faces, falls into the hot tub at the exact moment that Rodney wakes up and sees the wet, drenched dog. I tried to run out of there and put him in the garage because I knew he would think that we brought the dog swimming. I couldn't, the garage was locked. I come back, he's yelling at Peggy going, you brought the dog in my pool. Now I'm going to have to drain the whole pool and clean all this dog here. It was a poodle. It doesn't shed. And we're trying to tell him that. And we're trying to tell him, no, it fell in. He did not believe us. And that was the beginning of the end. And here's the weird part. We had to stay over because the last ferry had left. So instead of like getting out of there and going, Rodney's pissed, let's just leave, we had to sleep over that night in one of his guest rooms. We wake up the next morning and he's called everyone saying, I called all my friends. I told them what horrible people you are. And I'm going, Jesus Christ. So we left right away. So that was the beginning of the end. He never got over the dog story. And the dog, we really should have had the dog put to death and told us and held it up for him to see. See, Rodney, this is how much we love you. This was Daisy. the dog that fell into your hot tub. Jeez.
Did that ever get patched up at all? I mean, did he ever talk to you afterwards, or was it one of those? Because I've heard stories too that, and I'm a huge Rodney Dangerfield fan,
right? And
I'm not speaking ill of the deceased, but I mean he was known to hold a grudge.
Well, yeah. Well, one of his grudges was if he saw a comic that he thought was stealing from him, he would never forgive that comic. That's what he thought about David Brenner. And I'm looking, he said, yeah, Brenner, man, he stole a couple of my bits. And I never saw Brenner doing anything of Rodney. And the same with Joan. He hated Joan Rivers because he was convinced that she stole. And as it turns out, I worked with her a few years later. And she did one-liners like him, but she never did any of his jokes. And you couldn't reason with Rodney. You couldn't go, no, I watched her, Rodney. She's not. No, man, she's a thief. So he had that kind of grudge holding. So the thing with me with the dog was the first step. The second step was I get a call from Joan Rivers people. I'm still working with Rodney after the dog incident. He didn't fire me right away, but he was still pissed. I get a call from Joan Rivers people. They say, hey, we heard good things about you. You want to do 10 nights with Joan? And I said, I don't think I can because Rodney really hates her, but I'll tell him, So the next day I call him, yeah, Rodney, Joan Rivers people called, and I turned it down. And he goes, no, man, you got to do it. She guest hosts the Tonight Show. Maybe she'll put you on the Tonight Show. And I go, seriously, really? You mean that? He goes, yeah, no, I wouldn't hold you back. So I signed a contract for 10 nights. 2 days later, Rodney goes, I was thinking about it. I don't want you to work with her. And I signed a contract with her. It starts tomorrow. He goes, no, I don't want you to. So I had to go. And, those two incidents, the dog thing and the Joan Rivers thing, led to him eventually. New Year's Eve at the, what was the name of the theater in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale? Big 3,000 seat theater. right before I went out, he said, "By the way, I think you and I should part ways." And I went out. I was supposed to do 30 minutes. I went out there. I was doing my show. I started getting dizzy. I came off after 20 minutes. Came off stage, immediately threw up, and that was it. I was done with Rodney. But I started with Joan, so that's how that happened. I have had a really weird life, Derek.
Wow. What? Well,
That's
tell me
that
about
story.
Joan Rivers, because you ended up then bouncing and doing and working with Joan, who I think is hilarious. I mean, I thought she was
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. I saw her. It's got to be now, maybe 13. It's got to be 12, 13 years ago. She was with Don Rickles in West
Okay.
Palm Beach,
Yep.
and I saw her, and she went up first, and then Rickles went up second. She absolutely crushed. I mean,
Right.
so damn funny. I mean, and
Right.
then I had a chance to meet her after her set, and she could not have been nicer. Just the sweetest
Right.
person.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, she was.
I mean,
She was.
and obviously that's me seeing her as a, as a patron, as a customer. But I mean, how
Sure.
was she off stage, behind the scenes when you're working with her? Because everybody has a different relationship when they're working with somebody.
Sure. Well, she was, after the trauma of working with Rodney, I was gun shy. I don't want to, I don't want to be near any of these celebrities because they'll turn on you eventually. It seemed at the time. So anyway, I was very careful. The first night she walks, it was a big club in Boston, a big theater in Boston. The Chateau de Ville, it was called, and she walks in with Edgar, her then husband, and Gary Shandling, who was her other opening act. Joan always used at that time in the mid '80s. She used two opening acts. God knows why. She wanted to do a shorter show or something. Anyway, so I met Gary and her, and they seemed nice enough, and I did my show, and luckily it went really well. And Joan goes, "Oh, good. We'll see you tomorrow," whatever it was. And are we allowed to? Are there language restrictions on this podcast?
No, there is not. No, sir.
So Edgar comes up to me and very friendly goes, "All right, Blair, good. You didn't fuck up." He walks off. So it's like we've known each other for years. And I'm going, "Oh no, what have I gotten myself into now?" And Gary was, a little distant at first, but we got to be really close. But she personally was like a den mother. Like we'd do Tahoe for a week, and I sleep until noon at least. I get a phone call at like 10 in the morning. It's Joan. I'm, "Hello, we're going on the boat. Go downstairs in about 20 minutes. We're meeting in the lobby." What? I'm going, "Boat? What are you talking about?" She had commandeered the it was then Caesars in Lake Tahoe, the yacht, and she demanded that they use it. And she brought me and her entourage, and I think Gary that first time on. We went water skiing at like 11 in the morning. It was, she was like, getting a group together like a scout leader. "Come on, we're all going here. We're all going there." She's very personable, very funny off stage, and and she was great to work with. And then she used her clout to get me on my first Tonight Show, which I'll never forget. So. That was that story.
What was that experience? Your first Tonight Show?
The Tonight Show?
We're talking. So now we're talking Carson. Carson or Leno?
The Carson era, yeah.
Okay.
Carson era, before Leno, yeah, pre-Leno. When she was the guest host, occasionally to fill in for Johnny. Tonight Show, no big deal. Let's move on.
Yeah. The Tonight Show. The Johnny Carson era of the Tonight Show, which is hands down. I remember watching that when my grandparents would let me stay up late when I would stay at their house, and that's how I got into Carson, because my grandparents would, they could care less. I mean, I'd eat ice cream at 11 o'clock at night. We'd watch Johnny Carson, and they would just and they would laugh. They'd laugh their ass off. Again, it's grandma and grandpa. They don't give a shit. They're
Right.
here's ice cream. Stay up as late as you want. We love you.
Of course,
There's no restrictions here. That
and
had
this was pre-cable. Well, and this was pre-cable too, so it was like, it was like we had like 5 channels or 7 channels or whatever, so everyone watched that show. So that was like, when they finally, I always had trouble doing TV because of the nature of my act, which was parodies, and they didn't want to pay for song rights and stuff like that.
Right.
But I was able to cobble together a set with non-parody and have some stand-up monologue in there. So, but she fought for me. The then talent coordinator Jim McCauley was like, he'd seen me once. at the Comedy Store. He said, "Yeah, you're very funny, but you can't do parodies on TV." And I thought that was it, But she just fought for me somehow. She was like, really, because she had that kind of clout. And finally, she said, "Yeah, you got it." I went, "Oh, Jesus!" So that day was like, I went to all the clubs and put a set together and for a month and worked on it. And that night, it was like, I was nervous the day before. The day of, for some reason, I don't know. I relaxed. It was like, I don't know why I'm going. Why am I not nervous? Why am I not nervous? I should be nervous. Trying to psych myself into messing up my entire set, but it didn't work that time. So, and it's like, you go out. I did a rehearsal, sound check on the stage, standing on the spot that Johnny stood on, which was ridiculously amazing. And then I ran through my 5-minute spot, and the Ed Shaughnessy, who was the drummer, came over to me and said, "Hey, you're going to have a good set. That was really funny." I said, "Thanks." And then this director came over. I thought it was Carson. It was, I guess, his brother directed the show at that time. It was like, this guy comes up to me. He looks just like Johnny. And he go, "Okay, stand over there." Johnny. Oh, it's not. Anyway, all this stuff was happening. The show went really well, I think, because I had no memory, because I was like on a different spatial plane at that particular time. I sat down with her and we spoke for a minute or two. And then I don't remember. I drove home that night. I don't remember how I got home because I was in an altered state. It was amazing. So yeah, it was a great experience. I did another one maybe 6 months later, and that went well too. And then they said Johnny was going to be on next time I was doing it. And that's when he fired Joan because he didn't tell her that she was doing her own talk show. So that's my second fun firing story.
Oh, wow. That's right. I forgot about that. I had read that in Carson's in the book about Johnny.
Right. So he was pissed at her. I was now a Joan act. So they told me I was going to do my next shot with Johnny, and that never happened. But it's okay.
Oh.
I've gotten over it. I'm going to go kill myself now.
Tell me about the play that you put together. It was your one-man musical comedy entitled Also Appearing, about the ups and downs of your career as an opening act. Was it basically you talking about these experiences here where you don't know the temperature and the attitude of working with these celebrities, not knowing how long your job security is intact?
Yeah, that was the era about, was that the 90s or something, where like everyone was doing a one-man show. My mother was doing a one-man show, and she was just a house
as a man.
So yes, she had a little fake mustache and everything.
She looked great, by the way.
I thought it was a great show, especially the part where she wore the skirt. I
didn't see that part. I must have gone to the bathroom.
Yes,
I'm an idiot.
Anyway, my then manager, who was also Carlin's manager, says, "Hey, you know what you should do? You should do a one-man show." And I go, "Okay, what should it be about?" He goes, "I don't know." So I had to come up with a one-man show. It's the same reason I did the book, by the way. He says, "Hey, you know what? I didn't come to your one-man show, but you know what you should do? You should write a book." I said, "What should I write a book about?" He goes, "I don't know." So I wrote a book about what the one-man show was. Yeah, it was about all the people that I opened for and funny road stories. And I tried to do different characters, and I had original music that went with it. It was pertaining to the story wherever I was in the storyline. I did Woody Allen narrating the story. Basically, I would put the glasses on. I'm going, this guy, you think I'm weird. This guy is, I'm glad I'm not him. There was a song in the show called At Least I'm Not Dennis Blair, where Woody Allen would go on about how he's insecure and how he doesn't get along with women. But the chorus would be, "But at least I'm not Dennis Blair." So it was a cute little thing. We ran for 3 nights in LA, and it went very well. And then my manager at the time didn't do anything with it. So, once again, you can see how I became world famous.
What was the title of the book? Was it also called Also Appearing?
The original title of the book was called Me First. It was because I figured I'm an opening act, Me First.
Right.
Also Appearing. But then people would say they weren't crazy about the name. So I said, why don't I just call it Touring with Legends, which it's about, So that's what
now, can people still get that book now? Can they get it on Amazon?
Yes.
Or
It's on the Amazon. Yes.
It's on the Amazon. Everything's on the Amazon.
It's on everything's on the Amazon, and also at bearmanormedia.com, which is the publisher. Bear Manor.
There it is.
Media.
Look at it.
Yeah. There you go.
Look at you right there on the cover.
You got
Those are some.
You.
You have some fantastic pictures. I want to pull up some of these pictures that you had sent over and see if you can recall these moments in your career. This is now. When was this taken?
Okay, I'm not seeing the pictures because your video is about 10 seconds behind the audio. Okay, now I see. I see the cover. So you'll actually have to tell me what picture you're showing. Okay,
gotcha. This is with you and Rodney right now.
Yeah, well, when was that? That was backstage, I think, at Caesars in Atlantic City or Resorts International Atlantic City. Is that the one with my hand on his leg?
Yes. With that seductive look on your face, and you're holding a glass of wine.
Yes, I am. You should see the next picture. Anyway, it led to
a very coquettish, very coquettish look about you.
That's kind of my look. And I remember that night, yes, go ahead. Yes, that's Jackie Mason. That's Jackie Mason. That was a recent visit to New York. Every time we went to New York, which is usually once a year, except when the COVID hit, just to hang out and see plays and stuff like that, we'd visit Jackie because it would it's like you'd always have a story because he was so incredibly funny. It's like at lunch, he just, he's just hilarious. And you'd have these stories, about, he was describing my favorite story that he told me once, because, he had this great career going with one-man shows on Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going, so I'm going, tell me about that, Jackie. Was that fun or was it, he goes, I hated it. He says, the director tells me you can't just go up there and tell a joke. You have to go up there. You have to have scenery. You have to walk around. You can't just stand in the middle and just tell a joke. So he's directing me. He says, okay, you tell 3 jokes next to a lamppost, and then you walk over here and you say, tell 5 more jokes next to a sofa. And then you go over there, you tell 3 jokes next to a third of a staircase. I fell out of my chair when he said a third of a staircase because I know exactly what he means. The
exactly. Yeah, in theater, absolutely. Yeah,
right.
You sit on a third of a staircase.
A third of a staircase. Who else could come up with that? He was so funny. So we would visit him every year. He died like about 3 months ago, and that was terrible. But we had
funny.
Some great
Such a brilliant man. What's the let's see the next picture that we have here that you had sent over. This is you and Norm Macdonald.
It's like I'm starting to feel guilty because everyone I open for dies. I mean, is it me? Is it something I do? Is it something that I said? I don't understand this.
I don't want to go up on stage after you, to be honest with you.
No. I would refuse any offers to work with me if I were you. I'm surprised after
you're the black cloud of people, to be honest. I
really am. This was like 2 years ago before COVID, and it was at the South Point in Las Vegas. And the entertainment director said, "Hey, you want to open for Norm this weekend?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "I don't know if he remembers me," because my one great story with Norm is 1980s, the Improv in LA. I wasn't living in LA yet, but I visited there a lot, and they put an impromptu softball team together, and it was the Improv versus the Comedy Store. And I said to them, "Listen, put me in the outfield because I suck. I can't play. I'm not an athlete." And they all said, "No, we're just going to have fun. We don't care who wins. It's just a fun thing." They put me at second base, which was a complete mistake.
That's horrible.
I know. Norm Macdonald is at first base. First inning, guy hits a line shot right to me, and I just watch as it goes into I didn't even go for it. It was in the outfield. Now all these people who said, we're just having fun, they're going, "What'd you let it go for, you idiot? We could have got as an easy out." And I'm going, and they're all yelling at me. As they're all yelling at me, Norm comes loping over from first base and very calmly goes, "And that ball, I went right past you there." I said, "I know. I told him not to put me here." But it was just, he had this stupid grin on his face. Like, "Yeah, bye. You just let it go right by you. That's nice."
I never heard a negative story after his passing, which everybody was completely blown away by that. The fact that he had a 9-month battle with cancer and didn't say a thing to anybody about it is mind-blowing.
9 years.
9 years? Oh, that's right. 9 years. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when I was
even more
jaw-dropping.
jaw-dropping.
He was doing it. I know. I guess he just didn't want people to feel sorry for him. But I didn't know him very well. But he remembered me right away from that game. And I'm always amazed when anybody remembers who I am. So and we had a again. He was hilarious.
Oh, he's absolutely brilliant. What's the let's see, got another picture that's up here. Oh, you and Robert Klein.
Robert Klein, yeah, who's one of, I remember opening for him, I think at Dangerfields years ago, and this was just to visit him backstage. He did a show at the South Point, and again, I called. You figure all these stars, they screen their calls. I call up the South Point, and my wife goes, "I call Robert, see if you can go to the show." And I call him up. Robert Klein's room, and I figure they're going to say, "Oh, he's screening his call," and they go, "Hold on." I didn't even tell him who it was. He goes, "Hello, hi Robert, it's Dennis Blair. You remember me, Dennis? How you been?" So we just had a great conversation, and I saw his show, which was fantastic, and we hung out backstage for a little while, and that was this.
That's great. What's let's see, what we have any? Okay, this is the. Let's see. This is
that's an upcoming event.
Veterans. That's an upcoming event that you have around the corner here, Sun City McDonald Ranch. This is you.
Yeah,
Look at you with your happy smiling mug, and then Michelle Roll and Andrew Freeman. What is the story behind this event that you have coming up?
Well, this is a music event. This is how I'm starting to produce these shows in town. We did this show. We did a Simon and Garfunkel tribute about 3 years ago for the first time here. We put it together. There's a producer in town that I know, and she knows I do music as well as comedy. And said, could you we have an over 55 community here, would you put a show together, a Simon & Garfunkel show? And I did, and it went really well. We did it again the following year, and they want to do that again this year. Then we did a Crosby, Stills and Nash, Joni Mitchell, James Taylor show, which also went. So these shows I'm starting to produce are really catching on, and they're big hits with that demographic. So this is just something they put together. They wanted me to host, and I kind of put the show together for Vietnam veterans, at McDonald Ranch, which is like 10 minutes from my house. So that's perfect in a little theater there. And it's just going to be songs from the 60s and 70s in that era. So that's that. Andrew Freeman is a really great guitar player. He was in a show called Raiding the Rock Vault, and he's an amazing guitar player and singer. And and Michelle does a fantastic Janis Joplin not impersonation. She just sings the songs, but
right.
Plus we have a full band. So that's what this is, just an upcoming show.
Oh, super cool. Let's see. What's the other picture we have here coming up? Let's see. This is, okay.
Here
we
go.
Yes.
Yes. This is the actual studio that in Nashville where I recorded this album. And for the people who get it, music from Big Pink is the first band album. So I copied the font and put music from Big Brick and Big Brick in the house that I recorded the music in. So there you go. But I'm telling you, we started doing this in 2015, me and my songwriting partner, who have gotten together after 30 years. We went to grammar school together. And he found this studio, and you give them a guitar and voice demo, and you play it for them. And they have this Nashville numbering system that they do charts. They have, and these musicians go into the studio. Within like 20 minutes, you have a full-blown song with pedal steel and drums and guitar. It sounds unbelievably great. And so I'm like addicted to doing this now. I go to Nashville every year or two, and I was supposed to go last year, but of course we couldn't. But I'm going to go hopefully next year. And we put down 10 or 11 songs.
This is the studio.
This is the studio, and that's the album. It's got like 14 songs. Yes, yeah, oh yeah, it's a house, but it's a full-blown studio. It's not used for anything else but that. And it's in Nashville.
Well, it looks like a drug house. Like you can't see inside.
Well,
all the windows are closed.
Well,
and I know that's obviously you got hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. You don't want that stuff sitting out there for idiots to see and break in. But
right. But let me explain
that looks like a studio / meth lab.
Yeah. And it's amazing how loose you become during the session after you go into the drug part, because the section's in the back, and you take your meth. Okay? And you take your drugs, and then it's just the sessions are so laid back. It's just really nice. It really helps the music.
I've heard that. I haven't. I have personally not been one to indulge in meth or other opiates or narcotics, but I'm going to take your word for it. I'm going to trust you. Good. Let me bring Dennis back here on the screen.
Now I'll be sued. I'll be sued by them now. We don't do drugs here. The hell you damn Yankee. Come down here and give you a nice record.
And you let that idiot co-host talk about our place as a drug house. No, I mean I can't imagine some of the incredible stuff that's come out of there. And I mean, and you've got some great musical stuff that I've heard. Before we get into talking about your musical stuff, I do want to talk about your run-ins with that guy that some people in the comedy business may or may not have heard of, called what's his name? George Carlin.
Oh, him.
Yeah. Kind of
right.
Yeah, I think if he kept at it, he could really do something. He never really cracked that open mic scene.
Right. He was very lazy too. It was never right, never wrote anything new. It was always the same jokes over and over. The one-liners. Okay, now the Carlin estate will be coming after me.
Here we go. So I'm trying to think of all the people that we've pissed off so far. So far, it's your studio, the dyslexics, the 500-pound women trying to put on jeans, and now the George Carlin estate. How did this
Dave Chappelle feels sorry for me? Yes,
Chappelle is actually trying. Chappelle's trying to cancel you right now as well.
That's how bad it's got. Put these people down.
He's like, you know what? How dare Blair one-up me?
One-up me. Exactly. So here's what happened with George. So through my stuff with Rodney and Joan, I acquired an agent at William Morris, and he would, when I wasn't working on the road with Joan or Rodney, he would book me with different, the headliners, and he'd call up and go, "You want to work with the Four Tops in Atlantic City for a week?" And I'd go, "Yeah, that'd be great." You want to work with the Righteous Brothers and stuff like that. So I was constantly busy, which was great. And his name is Fred Suss. And then one day in 1988, he calls me and says, "Hey, do you want to open for George Carlin for 3 months?" And I say, "Let me think it over." Yes. And that was that. And just out of the blue, they must have seen a tape of me or something on maybe the Tonight Show. I don't know. So 2 weeks later, I'm standing out. I'm pacing around my dressing room in Omaha, Nebraska, about to do my first of 3 months, 3-month tour with George Carlin. I'm going, geez. And now I'm pacing going, I hope he's not an asshole, because some of these people, you meet them and they're just horrible people, all these celebrities, not many, thank God, 95% are really wonderful, but every once in a while. And then, and going by his act with all the anger coming out that I had seen, I'd never met the guy really before. I'm going, right. I hope he's okay. He comes down and goes, "Dennis, where the fuck are you?" Like, I've never met the guy. "Dennis, where the fuck are you?" He comes into my dressing room. "Hi, I'm George." I go, "I know." And he takes like everything off of my deli tray, which they had put out for me, and says, "What are these, carrots? What are you, a fucking goat? I'm going to take about 100 of these, and there's nothing you can do about it." I'm going, "Okay, that's fine, George." And we're just going back and forth, and it's like I'd known the guy for like 10 years or something. And he goes, "All right, we're going to be watching you, so don't fuck up." I'm going to try not to, George. And he leaves, and I go, "Well, that went kind of well. I enjoyed that." So obviously he's not the angry on stage guy. He's just goofy backstage. Luckily, the show went really well, and we continued the tour. It was 3 months, and after 3 months, he said, "So you want to stay?" And I said, "Well, I have no plans, so I'll just stay on the tour if that's okay with you." And that's what happened. 18 to 20 years later, it was, until the day he died, when I killed yet another headliner in my long litany of dead celebrities that I've opened for. We had the long run.
What was it like working with him, being on the road with him? And I mean, did you, at the time, could you grasp the legend status that he was, or did you just go, "It's George, whatever"? I mean, because he was already insanely successful by that point.
Oh yeah, no, I never. I mean, at some point, you become comfortable with the guy or the person, and you just, and backstage, he was just so goofy. I mean, we would do impressions of Jerry Lewis, and my favorite note that he would leave me notes while I'm on stage. That was one of the things we did. And my favorite note that he left me, after I come off stage, I come back to my dressing room, and there's a note from George that says, "Dennis, a few of us were talking, and we think you need to blow more people. Your friend, George Carlin." That was the note. That's the kind of relationship we had, you know.
Please tell
And
me you
just-
kept
and we
those
were-
notes.
Oh, it's in the book. It's one of the pictures in the book.
Oh man.
And we would do a lot of rental cars. Like he would stay in a hotel in Chicago. Like if we did Joliet and in Merrillville, Indiana, we would headquarter in Chicago, and we would go to the gig in a rental car, take a half an hour. And in the rental car, we had so much fun. We just horrible stuff you couldn't possibly repeat even on a cable show. And we had these contests, and we come up with these premises like, which celebrities do you think have the bushiest pubic hair? And George's take was George's suggestion was Rhea Perlman, which makes total sense. I don't know why, but it just does. What was the other one? Restaurants you never want to eat in. And I think I came up with something like a restaurant where you drive up and these truckers are puking over the railing. You know, it was okay. George came up with any restaurant where you go in and the waiter is taking a shit in the soup. That's another one that he came up with. So these are the kind of good times that we had, you know, just like being stupid backstage. But, you know, once we got back to the hotel, you didn't see George. I mean, we did 3 weeks at a time in Bally's. In Vegas, and you never saw the guy because he was up in his room, just obviously writing his next special or something. So it was perfect because I had spent too much time with Rodney, and that's how I got in trouble. You know, sooner or later, you know, something bad's going to happen, and they're celebrities, and they can fire you at will. So anyway, that's what happened there.
Now,
I got George though. I got George though. The thing, one of our premises in the car was famous last words, and they came up with John F. Kennedy, and I said, "Why is my head whistling?" And I'm proud of that joke. I don't care if it's tasteless.
Why
Damn it.
is my head whistling? What?
Yes.
Now did George, when you guys are traveling together, did he just write on his own, or did he come up with premises and you guys would be together and be in the car, you're in the rental car going to a gig, and he's like, "Yeah, Dennis, I thought about this thing. What do you think of X?"
It was mostly his writing was done totally in private in whatever hotel room I guess we were in, or I guess when he was at home. I did give him a tag or two, which I was very happy, which he used on stage and on some of the specials, which I was thrilled that I was able to do that. And again, I can tell you one. We were just talking, coming off the plane. We were just talking. He says, "Yeah, I'm working on this, on these bits about classical music." And I said, "You know, George, I always wondered, what if there was a classical composer who was like better than Beethoven, Mozart, Haydn combined, the best the world has ever seen. But what if, unfortunately, his name was," and I paused, and George finished the thought. He said, "El Canto Priccolini." And I said, "Yeah, what if his name was that?" And he put it in his special. But I came up with the premise.
El Canto Priccolini.
El Canto Priccolini.
I think we got a picture of you and Carlin here that you had sent over, if I'm not mistaken. If we can find that and pull it up here as that's being sorted through and found. What do people not know about George?
I think the main thing is how goofy he was off stage. You know, because I think, you know, people would probably just assume that he was like, you know, very, you know, you'd see him on shows and he'd do his bit, and then he'd be very, very. He'd have these like Charlie Rose interviews where he'd be very serious and all that stuff. But I'm telling you, he just the goofiness factor was amazing. Was amazing to me, you know, and just very.
Now
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say because towards the end, he was hilarious, but then towards the end, I know when his health, I guess, was deteriorating, is when he started to become a little more angry.
He was suffering, and none of us knew it. He kept it to himself, but he became, the last 2 years of his life, he became kind of cranky, and he started snapping at people. And his dressing room door, which was always open, and I could come wandering in, was now closed. And we were all going, George is like, is he mad at everybody or something like that? And it turned out that he was, according to Kelly, his daughter, his arteries were and veins were like congealing, you know.
Right.
He'd had a history of heart problems, but he was pretty much over those for most of the 80s and 90s, and then starting around 2006, I guess it started creeping up on him again. And he wound up dying of heart failure. So, but none of us knew it till the very end. Plus, he had an addiction to red wine and Vicodin, which again he'd had for 20 years, but I guess he kept it hidden. All that stuff contributed. So, and his humor was getting darker, as you said. I'm sure that was partly a result of how he was feeling, I suppose. But before that, man, he was but before that, he was the happiest guy. He loved writing. I think he loved writing more than performing. He loved coming up with stuff. And just the happiest guy, just loved being on the road and, enjoyed everything, as opposed to Rodney, who, everybody doesn't know about him is he was one of the unhappiest people I ever met. He just was.
I had heard
he couldn't
that.
take much joy. Yeah, he couldn't take much joy in his success. It was like, what's it all mean, man? What's it all mean? And I wanted to say, it means you're extremely rich and you can do whatever you want. But I never said that. He goes, it's all bullshit, man. It's all bullshit, man. You're famous. I know Chevy Chase. I know Belushi. I know all these guys. Who gives a fuck? It's like, Jesus. I said one more year with him, I would have killed myself. So, but then again, that's what fueled his the no respect thing was real, yeah.
Well, you're like, yeah, you got enough money. You can drain the pool and get a couple dog hairs out. Relax.
You would think. No door hairs. I mean, she was never
Come on.
in the pool.
Poor
Come
Daisy.
On. You can see I haven't gotten over that yet.
Poor Daisy. You've
Daisy.
recorded several things. You've recorded several things musically outside of comedy, and going to Nashville and doing stuff like that. Is there a theme behind what you're doing? Is it have you kind of bounced all over and done something with more of a blues? Is it country? I mean, what makes you happy to record?
Well, here's the thing with me. I don't have a style. I like so much. I like jazz. I like, my tastes run from Sinatra and Billie Holiday to, I think Billie Eilish is great. I like some of the new people, Adele is amazing. And I have a country background because I was in a country band in college. So here's the thing. I just love writing music, and I don't stop whatever comes out, like whatever style it comes out in. So the first album I recorded was you would call it like standards, jazz standards, but they're all original except for one song on there. So it's like in a Cole Porter-ish style, and I got to do that for nothing. The guy who owned the studio just gave me the time, and I got this great trio together, and we just did jazz standards as through my lens, and people seem to really like that. It's like dinner music, but it's all original. And then the next one I did, I had all these. I just got in a country mode, and that was music for Big Brick. And I went to Nashville, obviously, to do that, and that was a lot of fun too. And then I did one called "Songs from Captivity," which is kind of more pop. And the one I'm working on now, which hopefully I'm doing one song a month here in town. I found a great studio here, and hopefully I'm doing one song a month just to take my time, and hopefully it'll be out by the spring of next year. So I guess what I'm saying is I just don't edit. This album that's going to come out, it's going to be like, I hope it's the kind of thing where you don't have to put it on shuffle, because it opens up with like kind of a Billy Joel rocker, and then it has the next one's kind of like a Tom Petty feel, and then the next one after that is kind of a more contemporary R&B. So it's kind of the album I want to just play the whole album, and you get all sorts of different styles. But it's what I can't stop writing.
Yeah. So DennisBlairMusic.com, you can go on there and snag that stuff. Also, they can get those links off of your website too, DennisBlair.com.
Oh yeah, and everything's on Spotify. All my albums are on Spotify and iTunes and all that good stuff. Amazon Music,
now
that kind of thing.
Now here's what I want you to do, because you're wicked talented, and I've seen you on stage doing comedy, seen you singing, and I shot over the lyrics to Def Leppard's "Pour Some Sugar on Me." This is beautiful because you said, I'm not familiar with this song. I need to hear it several times to get the melody. And I'm like, no, this is perfect. The fact that you have not heard the song makes it even more beautiful. So what I want to do
even better.
This is going to be classic. So since you have no definitive style that you fall into. So I want you to make this song your own. Just take a couple verses, whatever you want to do. You've got the lyrics, the Def Leppard's Pour Some Sugar on Me in front of you. I hand these to you in the studio. I go, Dennis, here. Give me something.
So you want me to make up? Do you want me to use whatever melody I remember that actually goes with the song, or just make it completely my own?
You make it completely your own, but it's got to be those
All right, here we
lyrics.
go. Never done before, ladies and gentlemen. I got this 7 seconds before I came on. Here we go. Here we go, Rad. Listen, red light, yellow light, green light, go. Crazy little woman in a one-man show. Mary Queen, mannequin, rhythm of love. Sweet dreams, saccharine, loosen up. You gotta squeeze a little, tease a little more. Easy operator, come a knocking on my door. Sometime, anytime, sugar me sweet. A little miss innocent, sugar me, yeah. Give me a little more. Pour some sugar on me. Pour some sugar on me. Baby. Pour some sugar on me. Is that good enough for you? Does that fit the bill? Does that do it for you?
That has got to get into your act. That has got to get in your act. That is fucking hysterical.
Countrifying rock songs. Okay, good. We'll start with Nirvana.
Def Leppard. That is
countrifying. There you go.
That is hysterical.
Then we'll go into heavy metaling Johnny Cash. You know, here's traffic coming and it's rolling around the bend, and I ain't seen no sunshine since I don't know when. I'll do that. I'll work on everything. Thanks, Derek.
You're welcome. I'm here for you. There has got to be a time. I always love asking this story to any comedian. There's got to be a time when you bombed on stage. Can you recall the time that you bombed that you went, what am I doing here?
Two. Tons of them. We all have the bombing stories, but the ones that stick out in my mind are I got booked on some sort of a corporate thing. It was in a banquet hall. And I know that my wife was sitting, I don't know what it was for, but my wife was sitting at a table with Cher. I go in, there's dancing, there's a dance band. The dance band stops. Now, usually what happens, as you know, is, there's an MC and the lights will go down and there'll be a spotlight. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a comedian who's going to do some very hilarious stuff. Please welcome, blah, blah, blah. No, none of this happened. The band stopped. People were pissed off because they couldn't dance because the band had stopped. They just pushed me out on stage. There's no spotlight. The room is lit up. I'm doing comedy. No one's even listening. My biggest laugh was, "Where's the fucking band?" That was my biggest laugh. Let's see. Nothing. I'm getting nothing. There's this very sweet-faced security guard who stands. I don't know what people wouldn't rush the stage and kill me. I don't know. A security guard at the foot of the stage, and he's looking up at me with this beatific smile. He must have felt so sorry for me. And I'm in the request portion. I'm trying to get people to yell out your favorite singer, and I'll destroy them. And no one's saying anything. So I turn to this security guard and say, "Who's your favorite singer?" He goes, "Lionel Richie." I just did it for him. I did Lionel Richie for him. And I came off stage after 20 minutes of hell. And my wife said, Cher turned to me 10 minutes in and said, "Is he sure this is what he wants to do for a living?"
Cher said this? Oh, man.
Cher said that to my wife, yes. The other horror story is, I don't know if you've ever done warm-up for a sitcom.
I have not.
It's an acquired skill. You can't just, it's 4 hours. You're 4 hours talking to people who are watching the sitcom. They start a scene, they end the scene, then they have to do it again. They have to reset the cameras. And while they're doing all that, you have to entertain the folks. And then as soon as the scene starts, they ring a bell. Even if you're in the middle of a bit, you have to just, okay, let's watch this scene. You have to recap, tell them again what just happened. Then there's all sorts of stuff, and then things go wrong, and then they switch cameras to the next scene, and you have to stand there. So I was doing this for the George Carlin show, and he had his sitcom, and it usually went pretty well because it went pretty fast. the producer of that show was also producer of Derek oh man, why am I blanking on his name? Drew Carey, the Drew Carey Show. Those audiences weren't as kind. And I had one show where I started I always start with stuff from my act. They just groaned everything. They just hated me. They just hated me from the very beginning. And I realized I'm going to have to be here for 4 hours with these people. Drew came wandering out and someone in the audience yelled out, "Drew, please come over here and save us. Tell some actual jokes." And they never, I did contests. It was 4 hours of trying to get them just to not hate me, giving away prizes and having them do trivia contests and talent show in an impromptu audience. But that was the worst 4 hours of my life. And as the show ended, as you know, some people, the weirdest things happen. People are flying out. And one guy comes up to me, passed me on the back and said, "Hey man, you were great."
That always cracks me up. You can be up there on stage just totally tanking it, and then people come up after the show and they go, "Man, that was fantastic." Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Best show I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Best show I've ever seen.
Best show I've ever seen. Yeah.
Right.
You always
and obviously we have tons
silent.
of those.
Yes,
Yes.
you remain silent and judgmental the entire time and just awkwardly stare at me, and then you come up and you go, "That was fantastic. I loved it."
Exactly. And tell your face, as Jackie Martling said. I swear there was a 1 month period on the road with George, and it was 18 years, but there was a 3-week period where I would do okay, but it never got beyond okay. It was just people were, okay, where's George? It was never booing. And I actually called my wife up in the middle of it because I think my act expired because all of a sudden I'm getting nothing. I was convinced that and I kept trying to write new things. And none of the new things would work. And then all of a sudden, after 3 weeks, everything was fine again. But that 3 weeks was what the hell's going on? Am I dead? Am I fired any second? But luckily, it all worked out. But man, we all have so many stories.
I think my act expired.
Yeah, honey, I think my act expired.
Oh my God.
Go on Amazon. Go on Amazon and get me some new jokes or something like that. So
well, people need to go on Amazon. People need to go on Amazon and find your music. Amazon, Spotify, iTunes. Find Dennis Blair's music. DennisBlair.com is his website. DennisBlairMusic.com. Also, grab the book Touring with Legends. And, of course, Dennis is here in Las Vegas performing at the Laugh Factory quite often, and also over at the Comedy Cellar at the Rio here in Las Vegas. And again, I can't thank you enough for your time, my friend. Always great talking with you.
Pleasure.
We've got to get together in person and actually have that lunch that we've been talking about for the past year and a half.
Let's do that. Soon.
You sexy monster. Thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate you.
Pleasure. Thanks a lot. Appreciate good to speak with you.
That was great, man. I love it.
Thanks.
Dennis Blair.
Thanks.
Here on a drink with Derek, and again, can't thank everybody enough for tuning in and joining me here today. Again, big thanks to our sponsor, VegasSportsAdvantage.com. If you're going to bet sports, bet with your brain. Go ahead, take advantage of the research that these guys do on the games. Again, they are crushing it in college football right now. Also, they've won. They've been doing very, very well on the NHL here as well. Again, VegasSportsAdvantage.com. Find them, and they will make you some money. Also, grab a copy of my album, Double Down, on iTunes, also on Amazon, wherever you go ahead and download all your happy stuff. There you go. iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and, of course, the Irish Comedy Tour special, which is available on Amazon Prime for free. Free is good. Free is always delightful. The Irish Comedy Tour on Amazon Prime. Make sure you go ahead and snag that. And for all of my tour dates personally, DerekRichards.com is my website. And again, huge thanks to all the folks at New Takes TV. Go ahead and sign up. Get to the website. Sign up. There's a ton of great podcasts that are on there. Lots of great content. New Takes TV. My name's Derek Richards. Thank you so much for joining the podcast, A Drink with Derek. We will see you next time. Goodbye.